life where it made sense to try to peel back the layers and go into some very deep, dark places. I don't think that is the right priority for most people, actually. It can be very unbalancing and painful and destabilizing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, which is why I gave so many caveats for the 10-day silent retreat, and which is why I would give caveats for, say, many of the things that I talk about or have talked about, including psychedelics. But if we look at the lower levels of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, so we have shelter, food, et cetera, and then you move up and you get all the way to self-actualization. But for everything on that list, I think self-awareness and being response-able, and I'll come back to that, are a fundamental core skill. And I say skill because it can be developed. By being response-able, I mean that between a stimulus, that could be someone yelling at you, sending you a certain email, that could be your kid doing something that you really dislike, it could be having a CNN headline pop up on your phone. Between a stimulus or an event or a happening and your response, there is a tiny gap, and that gap is called now, right? And in that gap, which is really life if you think about it, when you're not thinking about the past, you're not planning for the future, it is possible to train yourself to metaphorically or actually take a breath and then choose your response and to be less emotionally reactive. That is the skill, as far as I can tell. And there are other pieces to that, right? It makes you more empathic. It makes you more compassionate. Okay, great. But let's just say you're not trying to become the Buddha. You're trying to make more money in real estate. Being able to coolly and rationally evaluate opportunities as opposed to getting overly excited, say, and then outstripping your capacity and putting too much money into an investment or miscalculating or ignoring cash flow, or say, investing in, because I actually have done a fair amount of real estate investing in real estate, and you have one that goes completely sideways and you end up taking a big loss, or even perhaps worse, you decide that you have to make the money back the way that you lost it.
Yep.
So you hold on to a loser.
Yep.
That all of those things I just mentioned reflect emotional attachment and reactivity, sunk cost fallacy, and so on, right? So by meditating, let's just say with Headspace, 10 minutes a day. If you don't have 10 minutes a day, you need an hour a day. And it's not that you don't have time, it's that you don't have priorities. So this will help you to clarify and be more calmly assess what's going on in your life so you can make clear priorities. 10 minutes a day for 10 days. And it allows you to take that all important several milliseconds or a second or a minute just to say, let me take a step back here. What am I trying to accomplish, right? Before I hit send on this email that I typed out furiously, banging on the keyboard, am I more interested in being right or am I more interested in getting a result? For instance, right? Okay, let me take a walk around the block, throw a ball for my dog. I want the result more than I want to be right. Okay, great. Let's delete that email, right? For instance, all of those are a byproduct of self-awareness and being able to recognize that gap between stimulus and response. And I would agree that meditation as a word has so much baggage and it needs a rebrand. I don't know, and it's not my job, nor do I have the interest to rebrand it. Mindfulness isn't any clearer, but if I were to call it, say, self-awareness training, that might be how I've...
You just branded it right there?
There we go.
So you heard it here, folks.
Yeah, it's a self-awareness training, SAT. Although then I'm going to get sued by the people of the college boards. But in any case, so that's how I would present it. And I would also point out that most people who operate at a very high level in any sphere, even if you use, say, Jocko Willink, retired Navy SEAL commander, legend in special operations, who did his first public interview on my podcast.
Which was fantastic. Everyone should go listen. Like, that's my favorite podcast episodes ever.
Do you guys need a room?
We might.
Is that what's happening?
It's the second most popular podcast I've ever put out, and no one knew about Jocko before. First one was Jamie Foxx, so people can check out. Yeah, both of those. Tim.blog/Jocko, Jocko, and then /Jamie, if you want to check those out. But Jocko wouldn't say that he meditates, I don't think.
Yeah.
And Jocko's he's I would consider him a good friend. But he talks a lot about detachment and being able to step outside of himself and almost robotically assess a situation when people are, say, panicking or stakes are very high to make a proper decision, to prioritize and execute. That end result is the same, ultimately, and very, very similar. So there are different ways to get to the same thing, but I'm not going to say, yeah, join the SEALs, become a SEAL commander, go to Ramadi, and then you can potentially learn the skill of detachment.
Wake up at 4:30 every day. Take a picture.
Yeah, I'm more likely to go to bed at 4:30.
Yeah.
But Jocko and I nonetheless have a fair amount of shared DNA. And so the tool that I think that I have more familiarity with, that I would recommend to people, and there are several actually. Exercise would be another, but that may be outside the purview of this conversation. But regimented, highly structured exercise would be another very effective way to do this in some respects, would be 10 minutes a day for 10 days.
Okay. That's awesome. All right, so I want to translate. You mentioned book. We talked about it a couple of times, kind of hit around it.